What is going on, pro wrestling fans? Welcome back to Squared Circle Speak. I am Ryan, and today I have a fun topic because most of my life I have been not really into, but interested in conspiracy theories. I always wonder how they get going, and I always wonder what led people to believe in conspiracy theories. So today I thought I would look at some of the biggest conspiracy theories in wrestling history. There's quite a few big ones, but I'll cover three or four in this episode, and then maybe I'll do a second one. The first one we're going to talk about is the Ultimate Warrior's uh, return was a different warrior. So Ultimate Warrior obviously was a physical specimen. He was all over the WWE in the early '90s and late '80s. He was huge, but then he left. He left at SummerSlam, 1991. He kind of held WWE up for money, so they fired him. But he returned at WrestleMania in 1992, and this is where the conspiracy theory kind of takes off and collects some steam. He came back, and he was visibly smaller. Now, this is way pre-internet, so it wasn't easy to debunk this stuff. But he was way smaller. He had shorter hair, and it led people to believe that maybe this was Kerry Von Erich, also known as the Texas Tornado, who took on the role of the Ultimate Warrior. Also, there were rumors that Jim Hellwig, the actual Warrior, had passed away in 1991. Obviously, this was not true. Obviously, he, was the same Warrior. He never was portrayed by a different character. It's always been Jim Hellwig. The Ultimate Warrior was always the same thing. But some of the reasons why he was smaller. This was during the steroid trial, and so obviously wrestlers were kind of asked to not do steroids. And B, he just cut his hair. Like, it's crazy that in the '90s someone could just come back with a shorter hair and it would be like a completely different person. Um, you know, Obviously WWE has done in the past use the same character twice. Obviously, we had the fake Diesel, fake Razor Ramon, a second Undertaker, a second Kane, Sin Cara, Doink the Clown. We've had multiple characters played by multiple people playing the same character in WWE, but this was obviously not one of them. But I guess in the early '90s, it could be seen as um, weird to do. And if he did come back after a long time, again pre-internet, I could see why people may think this was a different person. But obviously, this one is fake. There was no chance. I never believed this one. Obviously, I was 3 in 1992, and so I wasn't around. But reading about it later, it was one of those ones that I never really believed. All right. The second one I want to talk about is Vince Russo going to WCW as a spy for the World Wrestling Federation. Vince Russo got his start in 1992 as a writer for the WWF magazine. Um, he became an editor in 1994, and then he was promoted to the creative team in 1996. Obviously, this was when WWE was kind of at their lowest when it came to creative. And then along with Vince McMahon, uh, they went to the Attitude Era, Crash TV, Rick Jerry Springer, crazy anything can happen wildness that was WWE in 1996 to 1999. 1997, he was promoted to become the head writer of the WWF. Raw is War. And then, Ed Ferrara joined him in 1998. But in 1999, SmackDown was created, and Vince Russo left the WWE because of the increased workload and that he would not get to spend time with his family as a single dad. I understand that. Completely get that. So he left and took his talents to WCW. Yeah. So the reason I think people think this was an inside job as to go and kill WCW was the stuff he was doing was wild and crazy, and I really can't believe anyone would actually think what he was doing would be good. He wanted to put the world championship on Tank Abbott, um, which led to him actually getting fired. Um, he said that he wanted Tank Abbott to come in, have a rumble match in which Sid Vicious would be an early entrant in the match and would last all the way to the end when Abbott would come into the match and eliminate him with one punch. Russo said that Abbott might not have held the belt for more than 24 hours if the title change actually occurred. Um, yeah, so he was then left the company. But so here's the thing. The stuff he was doing, he obviously had no respect for the wrestling business. He started using terms like shoot and insider terms like smarks and all this. I just think Vince Russo was good under a filter of Vince McMahon. Now, if this was real, if Vince Russo was sent to WCW as a spy for the WWF, as a mole, as so to speak, to kill the company, wouldn't he have been hired back to WWE? I mean, technically, he came back in 2002. He was a consultant, and then he left shortly thereafter. Um, he came in and said he wanted to do a entire restart of the WCW invasion. So he left. So again, it seems like one of those things where, like, if it was real, he probably would have, went back to WWE. I feel like, unless Vince is Vince Russo, and Vince McMahon, or unless they're keeping kayfabe alive. I'd say this one's real, but this one was one that when I was younger, as a naive child, when I first got into the internet and the wrestling scene on the internet, it was one of the things I kind of believed for a while. I had no idea. I thought maybe this could have happened. But then, no. I now looking back, obviously Vince Russo just tried to take a dying WCW and turning into WWE light, and it didn't work. And everyone saw through it, and everyone hated it, and it was a disaster. So, I think this one is obviously debunked, not real. But the biggest one, I think, the biggest conspiracy theory in history probably is the Montreal screw job. This one has been debated back and forth, whether or not this was a real screw job or whether this was a plan all along. If you don't know the story, the Montreal screw job happened at Survivor Series November 9th, 1997. Um, between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart for the WWF Championship. Bret Hart was leaving to join WCW in December of 1997. McMahon wanted to, have him do the honor, drop the title to Shawn Michaels. Bret Hart was unwilling to do that. Bret Hart said, "Look, I didn't want to lose it in Canada." So he said he'll lose by disqualification and then he'll just hand the title over. Instead, Vince McMahon came out during the match. Him and Errol Hebner called for the bell while Shawn Michaels locked Bret Hart in the sharpshooter, declaring Shawn Michaels the winner. So the reason I think many people believe this is a storyline and this was something that was like, kayfabe, was it led to the Mr. McMahon character. It gave Vince McMahon a legitimate reason to introduce himself as an on-screen character besides just the announcer. He was an announcer for this whole time. He was never really mentioned as the boss. I know it happened occasionally, but it was never mentioned that he was the man, the CEO, the owner of the WWF. And I think this did give him a legitimate reason to come out and be like, I'm a bad guy, I'm a heel, Bret screwed Bret. It led to that. Then it led to Austin McMahon. So there's that element. There's the element that it was all filmed for Bret Hart's documentary, Wrestling with Shadows, which, again, blurred the line here because why would Vince McMahon do all this knowing that Bret Hart was filming a documentary? It just seems like too on the nose to be one of those things where he would do it or allow this to be filmed during the day. And then you had the whole thing where after the show, like, they didn't cut, and Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart like destroyed the area, signed WCW, and they didn't cut. To me, all the elements are there for this to be a real fuck you to the fans and a screw job to the fans. Like a complete storyline. It led to the biggest moment, the Attitude Era of WWF. This led to the rise of Austin. And look, I, obviously, I feel like this is obviously not real. I don't think Vince would. I don't think this was a storyline. Um, I don't think Vince would sacrifice Bret Hart to go to WCW, knowing that. I mean, he probably knew they wouldn't know how to book him, but like you're going to lose your top star just for a storyline doesn't seem right. Um, and the fact that they didn't reconcile until 2010, like he was put in the Hall of Fame in 2006, but then he never came back until um, 2010, which is like like if it was real, if it was a storyline, wouldn't he have came back? They ended up working about it over, but all parties have denied it being a work. All parties have said it's all real. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Earl Hebner, Vince McMahon, Bret Hart have all talked about it. Undertaker, like everyone who was there talks about it. No one questions whether it's a work. I have heard some legitimate wrestlers who were there and stuff talk about it being a work and stuff, but I don't know. This is one that I believed for a long time. Um, Sorry. It's one that I believed when I was younger. I thought this was real. Um, I thought maybe this could have been a big, a big work. But I look at it. No, obviously this wasn't. WWE was like, you know, really hurting at this time, and to send Bret Hart to the competition for a storyline was like risking your entire company. So I really don't I really don't think this could have been um that this could have been a work. But if you've never seen Wrestling with Shadows, I would check it out. It's a great documentary. Um, Look at if you don't know anything about the Montreal Screwjob, I would obviously recommend you looking at it into it and make your own conclusions on all of these conspiracy theories, whether you believe them or not. And if you like this, I can do more. Granted, this was not as you know let me see, professional as other videos may have done on these topics, but I'm just a guy with a webcam, with a microphone. And so I'm not professional. I just want to give my thoughts on some conspiracy theories. Hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving. And I will see you in the next one. I'm going to be doing another quiz soon, and I got some other fun ideas for the channel. But for Squared Circle Speak, I am Ryan, and I will see you in the next video. Continue to watch wrestling. If you want to follow me, I am on Blue Sky now, the new social media. You can follow me there. Just search for Sabri ENT. That is me. I'm also on Threads, Instagram, and you can find me at Sabri ENT. I have another channel here on YouTube called Sabri ENT that I'll be doing gameplay videos and stuff on hopefully again soon. So you can subscribe to that. All of that will be in the description. Thank you for listening, watching. However, also we're on Spotify now. All these episodes will be on Spotify, so you can listen on Spotify. Just search for Squared Circle Speak. Thank you for listening, watching, however you consume this. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.